For years, I've read about, researched, and even tried various rituals from the internet to find out whether they work or not. And this time, it was a ritual from the dark web. Some of them may be harmful and dangerous, so use your best judgment when choosing which ones to try. Also, if you want to support us, you can consider supporting us through donations. We don't ask for much, just whatever you think is appropriate. But is it safe? What did I have to do for it? And what was the result of trying this ritual? You will find out in today's video. First, you need a flower or herb from a graveyard. To begin with, you need to dig up a plant from a graveyard. And if you have never done anything like this before, this will probably be the hardest part. After all, going to a graveyard at night can be scary, especially if you believe that ghosts are real. Some of them can be very angry and dangerous, and you don't want to make them angry. That is why you need to be respectful when talking to them. If you ask them questions, make sure to give them answers. This time, he felt something cold near him, and then he saw a strange mist forming inside the jar. The mist quickly took shape and formed a face. It looked very similar to the one on the picture, but it also looked kind of transparent. It said that some things are better left unknown, but it still managed to answer a few of them. My editor was very scared, but also very excited. He couldn't wait to tell me all about it. He had just seen a ghost and talked to it. We began to think that maybe the ghost didn't want to come back. Maybe it was happy with its life in the afterlife, or maybe it simply didn't feel like coming back. The ghost then led him to the graveyard where she died. He had helped the ghost move on, and now it was finally free. Or so he thought. They arrived there at night, and the moon was shining brightly in the sky. The ghost showed him where she was buried, and then she disappeared. My editor was scared, but he knew that he had to do this for the ghost. He opened it and saw the same woman standing there. She was smiling now, and she told him that she wanted to thank him one last time. My editor felt a chill down his spine, and he knew that this was it. And if you want to support us, you can consider supporting us through donations. If yes, then please share your story in the comments below. I would love to hear it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. We don't ask for much, just whatever you think is appropriate. Once they removed her from the grave, she thanked him and disappeared. Maybe she is finally at peace, or maybe she is still haunting the graveyard where she died, who knows. For example, it told him that it died a horrible death, and it still feels pain and anger. It also said that it haunts the place where it died. He opened it and saw the same woman standing there. She was crying, and she told him that she wasn't ready to move on yet. My editor felt bad for her, so he agreed to help her again. The ghost looked at my editor for a moment, and then it began to speak. If they want something from you, give it to them without arguing. I think that if you want to try this ritual, you need to be prepared for anything. You might see a friendly ghost, or you might see an angry one. You might get answers to your questions, or you might not. The only thing I can tell you is that this ritual is not for the faint of heart. The ghost asked him why he was summoned, and he told it that he wanted to ask it a few questions. The ghost agreed, and they began talking. Basically, you need to show them nothing but respect. Otherwise, they may get mad and decide to haunt you for the rest of your life. It was only there for a few seconds, but it was enough for us to see that it was real. We decided to keep the ghost's identity a secret and never mention it to anyone. We didn't want people to think that we are crazy, so we destroyed the jar and threw the pieces away. However, if you really want to try this ritual, you have to overcome your fear, because without the plant, you won't be able to perform it. This one is pretty easy. Just go to the graveyard at night, dig up a plant, and take it home. Once you are done with that, set it on the table and sprinkle it with black salt. Then place the jar on top of it. Then close your eyes, take a deep breath, and concentrate. He opened it and saw a strange woman standing there. She was beautiful, but there was something eerie about her. My editor felt a chill down his spine, and he knew that this was the ghost that he had summoned. Try to imagine the person whose ghost you want to summon. Ask them questions, and try to feel their presence. As you can tell, this ritual is not for the faint of heart. That is why I asked my editor to take the picture instead of me. He agreed without hesitation, probably because he knew how scared I would be. If everything goes right, the ghost should appear soon. Now it's time to take the knife and carve the face of the person whose ghost you want to summon onto the jar. Make sure to do this carefully so you don't break the jar, otherwise the ritual won't work. The second item needed is black salt, which can be found in any grocery store. The third ingredient is a glass jar. Again, this shouldn't be a problem since everyone has jars at home. The fourth ingredient is a silver knife. This one might be harder to find, but if you search hard enough, I'm sure you will eventually find one. Finally, the last ingredient is a picture of the person whose ghost you wish to summon. Then he washed it, put it on the table, sprinkled it with black salt, and began carving the jar. He carved slowly and carefully, and after about half an hour he finished. Then he placed the picture on the table, closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and concentrated. Of course, if you don't have a picture, you can draw one instead. Before we start, remember that every ritual comes with risks. And now let's get started. The dark web. The name itself sounds intimidating. According to an old book on magic, the witch used to lure ghosts using special herbs and flowers, and according to those who witnessed her at work, she would manage to bring them into the physical world for a brief moment in time. If everything went well, she could then communicate with them and learn their secrets, or so they say. It's where criminals plan their crimes, hack into computer systems, trade stolen data, and more. And it's said that there are all kinds of things that go on there that no one should ever know about. Is it true? Well, yes, there are some things that should never see the light of day. That is why I was very careful when looking for a ritual to try. In fact, I found 3 of them. And while 2 of them were harmless, the third one sounded really creepy. As you can guess, I chose the latter, because I have always had a thing for ghosts. So the ritual that I chose is called Summoning the Ghost, and was said to be originally performed by an old witch named Sarah Belleville, who lived back in 1769. The ritual requires several items, most of which are very easy to acquire, but one of them is kind of hard to come by. As you can tell, the ingredients for this ritual aren't really complicated, so the hardest part is actually performing it. The next step is to take the plant and wash it thoroughly. Once you are done carving, place the picture of the person you carved onto the table. However, you shouldn't celebrate too early, because ghosts are not always friendly. If the ghost gets angry, quickly apologize, and then run away. My editor thought that maybe he didn't do something correctly, so he tried again. Went to the graveyard at night and dug up a plant. At first, nothing happened. My editor was so shocked that he almost fainted. He managed to recover quickly enough to answer the ghost's question, though. My editor asked it several questions, but the ghost didn't want to answer most of them. After about half an hour, the ghost disappeared. The jar became foggy, and then everything returned to normal. We looked through the footage and saw that the ghost had indeed appeared. However, I couldn't help but wonder if the ghost would come back. A week passed and nothing happened. Then 2 weeks passed and still nothing happened. One night, my editor heard a knock on his door. She told him that she needed his help, and he agreed without hesitation. My editor was sad because he knew that this was the end. He had helped her move on, and now he would never have to see her again, or so he thought. The next night he heard another knock on the door. However, he often thinks about her and wonders what happened to her. They went back to the graveyard, and this time they dug up her grave. My editor was relieved. The next night, he heard another knock on the door. She then disappeared, and he never saw her again. My editor was traumatized by this experience, but it was worth it because he got to see a ghost and talk to it. But that's just my opinion. What do you think about this ghost summoning ritual? Would you try it yourself? Let me know in the comments below. And now I have a question for you. Have you ever seen a ghost?